Hey, one of my subscribers suggested that I do a video showing how to add an external speaker or earphone to a Garmin GPS. So I decided that would be a good idea. I think I would like to have that myself, because there's times in the car where you want to hear the GPS. Maybe there's you want to turn it up, but there's other people in the car and they don't really want to hear all that stuff. So I thought it'd be a good idea. And actually a Bluetooth link to an earbud would be the awesome thing to do. But for now, I'm just going to try the old school method. And so I've got three GPSs here. I've got a NUVI 52, a NUVI 51, and a 55. They're all kind of the same. I'm going to modify the 52. Just pick that one. So we'll get into it now. I'll show you. I've got this power supply set up here that I'm going to use to plug in and power the Garmin, make sure it works before I start doing some modifications to it. It's a handy thing to have. I did a video on it as well, but it's a good way to test. So you can see I've plugged it in here and I've got the green light. And so before I do any modifications, I'm just going to plug this in and see if it works, make sure that we are good to go. I see it's coming up already. I'm going to move those out of the way. So good, I just want to hear that it makes noise and does something. So now I'm going to go ahead and unplug it and get into it here. It takes a this is a T5 Torx driver, and there's 4 Torx screws here that are coarse thread plastic screws. We just pull those up, and even when these screws are up, you still have to sort of pry it a little bit. I've also got a little schematic that I drew to show you what I'm going to do. It's pretty simple. Basically, I'm going to put a interrupting jack in series with the speaker. The speaker's right here. So when you plug in the external headphones or earphones or speaker, it will disconnect that speaker. And I think this is the jack I'm going to use right here. I believe this is a 1/8 maybe, or 1/16, I don't know. This is the jack that goes in there. I really don't think there's enough room to install this jack inside. And so what I'm going to do is use what they call flying leads. I'm going to drill a hole back here somewhere and hook some wires up to this and run the wiring inside there. I think there's room for wiring, but not this huge jack, because it's a lot of distance there, and I'm sure this is pretty tight up in here. And also, I wouldn't want that sticking out the back anyway, because of how I mount it. And so just flying leads, and basically the wire hangs down. I think that'll be the best thing to do. And in my case, I'm going to use an adapter, because I don't have a mono. This is just a single speaker, not a mono. It's a mono speaker, not a stereo. And I don't have one of those. All I've got are these headphones that are, everything I've got is stereo. So I'm going to make an adapter here that converts the stereo to mono. But I'm not going to destroy the headphones, because I might want to use different headphones. So I'm going to make this adapter where I have the stereo jack here, and I'm just going to have some wires that run from here to this jack, which is mono. I'm going to wire it to be mono, and then this is going to be the jack that hangs out of the back. So I'll have a short cable here, and I'll show you the schematic, or the drawing I've got of this is what I've got going on here. This is the GPS unit here, and these are the wires of the speaker. And so there's 2 wires going to the speaker, and what I'm going to do is just basically cut one of the wires and take the wire and run it. The wire that's coming from that carries the audio will go here through this part of the jack. And you can see this jack is special. It has a contact here that when you plug in this plug, this is like a spring here, and it actually opens up this connection. And when that connection is made, the other part of that connection goes to the speaker. So when you unplug this jack, or the plug from this jack, this connection is made so the connection is restored, so it just goes like that and right back to the speaker as it was before. But when you plug in the plug here, it pushes the spring up and it breaks this contact here, basically disconnecting the speaker from this circuit. There's no circuit path that way. So the new circuit path goes this way through these two wires here over to my, this is if I had a mono speaker, this is what I would have. It would just be the two wires coming out. But I'd have to go another extra step, and I take that to here. These are the tip and the ring, and basically the tip gets connected to the left and the right, and then the ring is just the common here. This is a stereo jack. I'll show you. This is the jack right here with the left, right, and common. And so I'm going to wire it up that way so I can use different headphones or earbuds or whatever I happen to have. I don't want to commit to in case something happens to this. So this is basically the circuit. It's going to be pretty simple, I think. I wouldn't have normally drew it up, but I did it to show no review of what I'm getting ready to do. But here we've got the screws out. Now we need to carefully pry this shell open, because there are connections made from the front to the back. So you don't want to just rip it open. And I might need a screwdriver to get in there. Let's see. You can hear it kind of click. There's little tabs that latch in. So I've got it completely opened up now. It will separate. But you have to be real careful when you open it up, because there's a ribbon cable here that connects the screen to the circuit. And you don't want to stress that connection, because you could damage the device. This is the speaker here, and these are the wires that I'm interested in. Let's see, I need to get that where it will not hurt it. What I'm going to do is use my voltmeter here to help hold that up. And so I've got a black and a blue wire here that go into these tabs here. And so what I'm going to do, I'm just going to tack on to the black one and remove the blue one altogether and hook my wire to it. And I'm going to drill a hole somewhere. I think I'm going to put my hole maybe over in here. I don't want to be anywhere near this with a drill bit. I'm going to drill the hole back over in here. That's my exit point where I'm going to come out with my wire. So I'm going to get started on that now. I'm going to get a drill. And let's see, I've got one here. And I'm it's I've got 5mm hole drill bit. I'm going to try to do this without damaging anything. And so when the drill bit broke through, I stopped immediately and I reversed it, because the drill bit wanted to just continue to go in, and I didn't have any room back there for it to go, and there's no need for that to happen. So I'm just going to remove these little bits of plastic. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue something here, glue the wire down so it'll act as a strain relief. So for now, I'm going to carefully, I'm just going to leave that just like it is. I'm going to turn on my soldering iron here and let that be warming up. And I'm going to get my wiring going here now. Okay, so I've got my iron warmed up. What I've decided to do is go ahead and do the connections inside here and strain relief it. I'm going to use some silicone rubber here to strain relief the hole once I get the wires routed through there. So I'm going to be using these 3 wires. These are 26 gauge and 24 gauge wires. And I've got it color coded. So my green is going to go to the black as ground, and the blue will be where the blue went, and the red will be the audio. And so I'm going to make these a little bit generous in length, and I'm going to just tie a knot here in them. And so that knot will not allow the wires to go through the hole. I'm just going to give myself a little length. I don't want that thing hanging out crazy long, but just long enough to give me something to work with. So I've got the 3 wires here that I'm going to work with. I'm going to go ahead and get those through there. And I can use some heat shrink to organize these wires on the outside. I'm going to get those through my hole there. And I just want to make sure I can close the lid. I think I can. Let's see. Yeah, I believe that will be fine. Actually, I'm going to do the silicone from the outside just to avoid a mess. And so right now I'm going to do the green one first. That's just going to go right to the black connection there. So there is like a cutout here for the wires to go through. I'm going to make my own a little larger though. Should give me enough room to work with. So the black one, I'm just going to tack it, or the green one I'm going to tack to that where the black one is. And I'm going to cut it about right there. And strip it a little bit. So I'm going to tin it first. And then I'm going to trim that. It's a little too long. So now I just want to tack it right down there. I'm going to use some tweezers here to hold it. Looks like a good connection. And I can route that down, that's pretty good. So next I'm going to remove the blue wire completely and attach the red wire where the blue one was. So I'm actually gonna give myself some more room here. Just clipping some of the plastic and folding it over there. And I want to cut that one about right there. It'd be nice if they came with audio jacks to start with. Maybe the better ones do, I don't know. I've only bought these Garmin's and none of them have that option. But a Bluetooth audio link would be awesome, where you don't have to have any wires. Okay, so now on this one I'm going to actually remove that blue wire altogether. I think I need to turn my iron up just a touch. There we go. I'm also going to revisit this one. And so now I'm going to curve that one back. These blue wires are going to get connected together, and this red one is going to go down there in its place. Okay, got the red one on there. Just want to make sure it can. There we go. She's folded down nicely. Now I just have to connect this blue speaker wire to the other one. And I'm going to bring that back over here and do that out of the way of this other stuff. So this one can, I'm going to leave the wire long in case I ever want to go back with it, but I don't think I ever would. So I'm going to get this twisted if I can, and then solder it. Oh. Not much wire to work with there. I'm going to strip them a little bit more. That's going to work. Okay, so I've got all the connections made. I just need to insulate this. I probably don't even need to do that if I can. Well, I don't want it to touch this metal. So I'll get some tape and protect that connection there. So I've got some tape I can put on here. And I just want those wires to go down in there and not get pinched when I close it up together. All right. So I'm going to close it up. And the first thing I'm going to do is power it up and make sure that will still come on and it still display. So we've got display. Of course, I won't hear the sound because the sound is interrupted. I could hear the sound though if I connect these two together, and I guess I can try that. If I hold those together, yep, cool. I'm hearing that. Okay, so now I am going to put some silicone here, but I'm going to wait and do that at the end when I'm done. So the GPS is still working. I'm going to go ahead and button it up with the 4 screws. These are, again, T5 Torx screws with a coarse plastic thread on them. All of the Garmins I've ever worked on have the same shell. It seemed to have the same shell and hardware as, you know, these a Torx T5 screw. It's pretty durable. I've never had an issue with that. But you definitely don't want to try opening this with anything but a Torx. If you damage the screw, it might make it a little harder to open. Although I have opened them with a tiny flat blade at times, but you have to really be careful. Okay, so now those are my external speaker wires there. The next thing I'm going to do is solder this jack onto it. And so I want to put that into a vise. Got a vise right here. And I don't know if you can see or not, but there's 3 terminals on this jack. And I used an ohm meter to figure out the way they work. Basically, one of them is basically a switch, an in and an out. And that's for the red and the blue. And the other one is the green, the common. And I figured that out with an ohm meter. And I'm going to solder these wires, but before I do, I'm going to want to go back with some heat shrink here over this connection. So I'm going to cut a piece of this heat shrink. Heat shrink tubing here. And that's going to go on these wires. It may be a little much, but And then also want another piece of heat shrink tubing to connect to be more like a strain relief from here to there. So I'm going to go grab some of that. So I got some heat shrink here. I'm going to use that as a jacket for the 3 wires. And that will go all the way into that hole there. And then this will go on top of everything. And now I've got to just work on connecting the wires to this. And I figured out the connections. I'll show you the paper, what I came up with here. Let's see if you can see this. This is, I used an ohmmeter to figure out the pinout of that, of this piece here, and that's it right there. There's 2 pads that are across from each other, and one is the tip and the ring, and this is the tip audio input, and this is the ring, the ground. So my green will go there, and my red will go here. The blue here, this is the one when you remove the jack, it completes the circuit from here to there. So that will apply the red to the speaker if the jack is removed. So that's what I've got here. I just have to implement it now. So I want to get these kind of close. I'm going to tilt this up to shorten it if I can. And I want to work with the wires kind of short because it will help me in the end. So I'm going to cut them right here and restrip. These are pretty nice strippers, but you do have to keep them clean. And by that I mean you can't let the wire, stripped wire jacket fall down in there. It will impede the next stripping action. There we go, got all 3 there. I'm going to go ahead and tin these wires. And so back on the jack here. One thing about this jack, I think it's kind of old and it's kind of tarnished. So I want to scrape it a little bit to make sure I can get a good soldered connection without fiddling around with it too much. This is really old. This particular jack, it could be 30 or 40 years old. I've had it in my collection from probably back in the, I would say early 80s, maybe. Came from Radio Shack when they were going out of business or closing in my area. I bought all kinds of stuff from them. And I still find myself using them. I tell you, I wish, I really miss the days when you could run down to Radio Shack and pick up a switch or a jack or some chips. They had a lot of logic chips and amplifiers, connectors, all kinds of LEDs, whatever you needed, they had it for the most part. And those were the good old days for electronics guys, I guess. So here we go. There's my, I'm going to solder this up. I've got with those in there. And so the, this one here is the red, the tip. It's going to be right in there. And what I like to do is put a hook in it if I can. They always taught us to mechanically make the connection and then solder for the best outcome. I'm going to put a hook in there and pinch that tight. We'll go ahead and hit that with solder. So the little contact I wanted to show, if I could, see if I can show you that. You can see that. I'll spin it. You can see it maybe. The contact is right here. When you plug in the jack, it pushes this thing here, and you can see it lifts away from this point. So that's how that contact, actually it acts like a switch. It can tell when you're plugged in or not. It's pretty ingenious. Okay, so the next one here, this bottom one here, this is going to be the blue one. That's the going to the speaker. I'm going to do the same thing, get a hook on it. And I was just realizing, since this is so old, I might want to scrape that to make sure it is going to give me a good connection, because it's been sitting out in my garage forever, waiting on this day. This thing was built before they even had GPS systems. Okay, the last one is the common, the green, goes over here. And of course, I've got this heat shrink to deal with, but I'm not going to shrink it up just yet. I want to test it first before I shrink it up. That way I can go back in it if I need to, if I got something wrong. So the last one I'm going to hook in there. There we go. Those are all the connections for the external headphones, earphones, or speaker, whatever you want to do. And so what I want to do now is test it. And then I also have this piece to make up the adapter. But that's just because I don't have the correct headphone. I don't have a mono headphone. So I'm going to plug that in. And we should get audio again this time. Yeah, that's working. So now if I plug this in, it should kill the audio. Yep, sure enough. Okay, so now the next thing I need to do is make my adapter, and then I can test it. I'll just leave that running, I guess. So the next thing I'm going to do is make this adapter here, from here to there. So I'm going to start with this. I happen to know this is left, right, and common. So I'm going to tie both of those together to the ground here. And then the other one's just ground. So I'm going to use the green. Okay, I've got the GPS modified. Now I just have to make my adapter from mono to stereo. So I'm going to start with this jack here. This is the stereo jack, and it's common left and right. So I'm going to tie the left and right together, and I'll just have two wires coming out. It'll be the common, and the left right will come out, and they'll go into this plug here. And this will be my adapter set up here. So I'm going to use the green for the common. These holes are kind of small. I don't know if I could stick a tinned wire through it. So I'm not going to tin these first. Go ahead and solder that one down. Well, and the other one will be the blue. I'll go with the blue. And this one I'm going to strip and go through both if I can. So here's the left and right wire. Let's see if I can get it to thread through both of those. Solder those. So we're going to heat that up and turn it. So that's the stereo jack part. And next I'm going to connect it to this plug here. And let's see, it's tip and ring, so it's those two there. And it really doesn't matter the polarity, but I'll try to get it right. Make the tip is blue. And this has to be tinned. And we'll solder that right on there. Also going to put some solder on the actual connector. And probably a good idea to slip a little of this on there to keep it from shorting out. All right, then the green one's going to go on this band here. I'll probably look around and see if I can find a mono earphone somewhere. I haven't seen one in a long time though. Here we go. Of course, I've got a lot of work to do to strain relief that and what. Right now, I just want to check it and make sure we've got working connection. So I got my GPS here running. I'm going to plug in my adapter. And I'm going to plug in the headset here. And I can hear it in the headset. I'll show you, put it up with the headset up to the microphone there. So that's cool, that works, and that'll be handy. If you're in a place where there's a lot of noise or whatever, you can hear what the GPS is saying. Sometimes I can't really see it very well because of the glare or whatever, but it's good to have, you know. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and turn this off. Unplug it. I'm going to strain relief this and fix all my connections. Make them what you call ruggedized. I'm going to go get my heat gun and shrink all this up. So I've got my heat gun here. And what I'm going to do first is put some silicone down in there. One thing my silicone tube always cures out and I can't get it out. So I just poke a hole somewhere in it where I still feel that it's soft. And instead of throwing it away, I still try to figure out ways to use it there. So I'm going to put that down in there. And I'm going to slide that down in if I can, or it'll go. Okay, she's ready to heat. So I'm going to set that aside to dry. And next I need to work on this. So I've got this heat shrink I put in there to keep that last pin from shorting out. I'm going to slide that in, and I'm going to use I'm going to crimp these two wires in there if I can. use this little wing here to hold it. Okay, and I'm going to put some silicone on that to form like an insulation. If it wasn't going in my car, I'd probably use hot melt glue, but the car gets pretty hot in the summer, and I'm not sure if that hot melt glue could hang with it. I've had other things I've used hot melt glue on in my car and they let go. But I know silicone can go up to 500-600 degrees. There we go. I've got formed a little jacket on that end, and I'm going to come over here and do kind of the same thing on this other end. Just have to make sure that doesn't want to touch. Get some more of this silicone coming out. So what will happen is this silicone tube, it will cure right there at that hole, and the next time I want to use it, I'll just have to poke another hole in it somewhere where it's soft, and it just goes on like that for a long time. Because the cap, obviously, it's cured up in there, and it's kind of hard to get it out of there, but it's pretty easy just to poke a hole in it. Alright, here we go. So I'm going to be taking a pretty long road trip soon, and I thought this would be a good idea to be able to hear the audio when I need it. I can just put the headphones on. A lot of times you don't really need to hear it, but if you're in the city and you're going to make a lot of quick turns, you want to really hear what the thing's saying. And so there we go. So that's I'll just let this dry, and that's pretty much the end of the project. Appreciate you watching, and okay, well, that wraps up the modification on this Garmin NUVI 52LM. We added an external connection that can be used for a headphone or earphone or even a remote speaker. And I decided in my case to use a special kind of jack that has a built-in contact in it that when you plug into it, it opens the contact. And in my case, I wired it so that it would silence the internal speaker of the Garmin. So when you plug into it, all the audio goes to the headphone and silences the speaker in the Garmin. You wouldn't necessarily have to do it that way, but I thought it would be a good idea to do that. And I appreciate the subscriber that wrote in and asked me to show how to do such a thing like that. And when I read the question, I realized it was a good idea. I wished I could see the merit in that, and I often wished I could hear the Garmin better. If I'm in a truck that's kind of loud, or my car, windows rolled down, sometimes you can't really hear, but sometimes you really need to. And so I thought it was a good idea, so I did it, and I just used stuff I had laying around, which is what I normally end up doing most of the time. So please click the like and share, subscribe if you found the video useful, or even if you didn't, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.